Okay, in this screencast, we are going to place some text on top of the main image on the front page. We're going to place the masthead and change the font and the size and the colour to match Delicious as much as we can. So first thing before we start is that we have placed our main image and now we have it where we want it to be. It's probably a good idea to lock it in place so that when you're working on text boxes on top of it, you don't accidentally move it about. So to do that, we're on our top tool here, our selection tool, the black arrow. We click on the main text image on the page. We go to Object and Lock. And you can see there's a little padlock here up the top of the page on the left hand side, and that tells you that that page is locked, and if you try and move it, a little padlock appears. So that's locked in place now. So we want to put the masthead Delicious on. So to do that, we need to draw a text box at the top of this page. So I go to my left hand tool panel, I click on the big T, the type tool. This allows me to draw text boxes and type in them. So you can see the cursor has changed again. I'm going to go to the top of the page and I'm going to draw a text box going all the way across. Okay, my cursor is flashing in the text box. I need to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. So I go to my left hand panel again to the magnifying glass. This is how we zoom in and out of the page. Click on the magnifying glass. You can see it's got a plus sign in the middle of it now, and I just click in. If I want to zoom out, I hold down Alt and the plus sign changes to a minus and I zoom out. So I've zoomed back in again. I need to come off my top tool, come off my zoom tool, back into my T tool, and I'm going to write Delicious and a full stop, because lots of mastheads don't have a full stop, but I can see that the Delicious masthead has a full stop, so I'm going to put one in. So you can see, obviously, this is far too small and it's in the wrong font. So I need to change the size of the font and the actual type of font. So I'm going to select all the text in the text box with a Control A, or you can highlight it with your mouse. Once it's highlighted, we then work from this section up here. This first box that says Minion Pro, that is the type of font. So if you click the drop down menu, you can see there's lots of different fonts. The box next to it here is the size of the font. So I need to change this font. So once I've got it highlighted, I can use the drop down menu and change it to 72 point. But as you can see, that's still not big enough. So I've got to go to the little arrows at the side and manually take it up to about 130 or 128 maybe. So that's quite big, as you can see, but it's a different font. So I know once I change it to the font of similar to the Delicious magazine, it might make a difference as to how far it stretches out, because the masthead on this magazine goes right from one side of the page to the other side of the page. So while my text is still highlighted, I'm going to change the font. Now you need to pick one of these fonts from the drop down menu on the left hand side. You can see examples of what they're all like, so it's a bit of a trial and error job finding a font that closely matches your target publication. I'm going to choose American Typewriter because I can see that the Delicious font is a kind of typewriter font, and sure enough, if I pick American Typewriter, it's pretty similar. So I might just make it 1 point bigger. I'm just going to go back to my size tool. No, that busts it, 128. So if I come out of the text box, you can see what it looks like. And if I zoom out using my Alt tool, using my zoom tool while holding down Alt, you can see that that's what the magazine front looks like. If I go on my top tool, my black arrow tool, and I press W, that takes away my guides and it takes away everything at the side of the pages. They're all still there, you just can't see them. So W puts them on and off like that. So I can see now that my font is quite a good match and that it's quite a good size for the page. It stretches out across most of it. However, I'm not too happy with the colour of that. I can see that the delicious, I know from my research that delicious masthead changes colour depending on the colours of the actual page. So I can change this masthead colour to whatever I think suits this page. So the way I do that is under the swatches panel. Now your swatches panel might be down the right hand side here where mine is. If it isn't, if you go to window, colour, and you can see there it's a side option, swatches. You press swatches and it will appear. And swatches are where you change the colour of text. So the first thing I need to do, as I do when I edit my text at all, I need to double click in the text box and select all my text and change its colour. So I can go in, I've got blue, pink, yellow, red and green here. I can change to any one of these. So if I go to red and I click off it, and then I might want to click W again. Do I want red? I don't think so. It doesn't do it for me, red. I can try yellow. I need to double click in my text box. Control A, highlight my text, click on yellow, come off it again, press W. Oh no, yellow's definitely not a goer. It's too light against the background, and also it's sitting on top of yellow lemons, which means it doesn't stand out. So I'm going to go back in my text, double click back in my text box again, Control A, and I'm going to pick blue this time. And I can see that the blue is not quite right, but I quite like it because there is a lot of pale blue on the page and lemon, and I want to keep with the colour palette of the page. I just want that blue to be a bit darker so it stands out. So to make it darker, I double click in my text box, Control A, and in the blue and swatches, I double click on it, not just click on it, but double click on it. And when I double click on it, it brings me up the blue palette, which I can change to whichever shade of blue I want. So I want to make it a bit darker, so I'm going to add a bit more black. I'm going to push that up. I'm not going to add any yellow, because if I do that, you can see that it makes it greener. And it's up 100% on blue. It's up, cyan is blue. It's already up 100%. Magenta, I'm going to increase that. And you can see by increasing magenta and black, and this, if I look at this square, it's changing the colour blue. And I want a really deep blue, not just dark, but deep. So I think that's nice colour blue. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to come off, and I can see now, press W, I can see that the delicious masthead now to me looks better. It looks like it suits the page. It's a dark blue. We are staying within the palette of blue on the page, but it's dark enough to stand out. So that is my masthead on the page with the font size changed, the font itself changed, and the colour of the font changed. And that's it for putting your masthead on.